What is the sponge and dough method? Sponge and dough is a bread-making method that involves two stages. A pre-fermentation step for sponge mixing. A dough or final mixing step. It produces breads with unique flavor and aroma, a soft crumb and an improved shelf life. For this reason, this method is commonly used in pan bread, buns, and other bread varieties. It is popular in Asian countries, North America, and Central Europe. Where did the sponge and dough method come from? The sponge and dough system became popular in the 70s and 80s after the somewhat poor experience of American high-speed bakers with the continuous mixing system. So, bakers became aware of the time needed for the dough to properly ferment, naturally mature the flour and improve the overall quality of bread. How sponge and dough works. The sponge and dough method consists of two distinct mixing stages. Stage 1, making the sponge. In this stage, 60% to 90% of the total flour is combined with water at room temperature to a 58 to 65% hydration level, based on sponge flour weight. Then, dried yeast at 2 to 3%, based on total flour weight, is added and shortly mixed just to incorporate ingredients. Next, fermentation follows for 2 to 8 hours at 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 24 to 29 degrees Celsius, and relative humidity of 60 to 80% to produce the sponge. Sponge fermentation time varies with temperature, ingredients used, amount of yeast, available food like sugars and damaged starch in flour, amylase activity of flour, water absorption of sponge, pH of sponge. In small-scale sponge production, the sponge is mixed and stored in the mixer. However, in high-speed bakeries, a separate container such as a trough is used to store the sponge in a fermentation room under controlled conditions. Occasionally, the sponge must be knocked or punched down to prevent it from spilling over. Stage 2, making the dough. The sponge is added to the remaining liquid and dry ingredients and mixed for 8 to 16 minutes in a mixer to form a dough of optimum gluten development. Then, the dough goes to the makeup stage, where it is proofed and baked. Once pre-fermentation is complete, the sponge expands 4 to 5 times its volume, is very soft, pliable, extensible, with an open cell structure, has risen 8 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, 4.5 to 5.5 degrees Celsius, in temperature, has a temperature of 84 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 to 31 degrees Celsius, has a pH of 4.8 to 4.9, has a total titratable acidity, TTA, of 4.5 to 4.6. High output bread production. The sponge and dough system is still popular in small bakeries but has been gradually replaced in commercial bakeries by faster production systems such as the straight or no-time dough. When using a sponge and dough system, commercial bread manufacturers use a combination of mixing methods that include horizontal and Tweedy mixers. Automation and ingredient handling systems have created faster production times and a semi-continuous mixing fashion, with sponges being produced without schedule interruption to feed the sponge and dough system. The sponge and dough system is currently experiencing a vigorous comeback with trends such as clean label. The advantages and disadvantages of the sponge and dough system. The advantages are good fermentation tolerance, ability to correct dough fermentation mistakes, unique fermentation flavor and aroma, improved finished product characteristics, larger crumb grain, silkier, smoother texture, moist and pleasant mouthfeel. The disadvantages are less mix tolerance. The sponge and dough are both sensitive to overmixing given the biochemical development during pre-fermentation. Longer fermentation time, longer production time, increased need for equipment and space to ferment sponges. Want to learn more about the sponge and dough method and how to use it in application? Visit Bakerpedia. Learn more about all things baking by signing up for our newsletter. Until next time, bakers. At Bakerpedia, we're here on a need-to-know basis.